Hey, you guys, make sure you take your test on Friday the 7th, all right? Make sure you take your test. We are approaching the end, you guys, so finish strong, everybody. All right, so on the test tomorrow, you're going to need to be able to identify these things that are listed here. So hopefully you do know where the x-axis is. The x-axis is always going to be this horizontal axis, and the y-axis is always the vertical axis. The origin is right in the center where those two lines meet, and the coordinates of this origin is 0, 0. Our 4 quadrants, we start up here in the top right quadrant. This is quadrant 1, and then our quadrants go in counterclockwise direction. So this is quadrant 2. This one down here is quadrant 3. And this one down here is quadrant 4. So if you start at the origin to get into quadrant 1, you would have to go right and then up, which is going to take 2 positive numbers. To start at the origin to get to quadrant 2, you would go left and then up. So that would take a negative number followed by a positive number. To get down here in quadrant 3, you would have to go left and then down. So to go left, you need a negative number. Go down, you need a negative number. And then to get into quadrant 4, you would go right and then down, which is a positive followed by a negative. Okie dokie. It says name the types of numbers needed to get into each quadrant. That's what we just did. Excellent. Number 2 says the quadrants of point B are 7, -2. So of course that means start at the origin, go right 7, and then down 2. So that's what happened. It says if point B was reflected across the y-axis, so we're going to go toward the line of reflection. We're going to go toward the y-axis, and then we're going to keep going. So what would be its new coordinates? So you're going to move toward the line of reflection 7 spaces. You're going to go 7 spaces on the other side of it. So the new coordinates would be -7, -2. So the first number is our x coordinate. The second one is our y coordinate. If you reflect across the y-axis, the y coordinate stays the same and the x coordinate changes to the opposite sign. But then it says, what if our original B was reflected across the x-axis? So we would go toward that line of reflection, 2 spaces toward it, keep going 2 spaces. So what would be B prime? Its new coordinates would be, we're still going right 7, but now we're going to go up 2. So that original x coordinate stays the same if you're going across the x-axis, but the y coordinate changes. On a coordinate grid, point A is at, let's kind of eyeball this. Point A is at -3, 1, 2, 3, down 5 and almost a half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and almost a half. So about right there, there's point A. And point B is at -3, positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and almost a half. It says point B is a reflection of point A across which one? Which axis? Did we go across the y-axis or did we go up toward the x-axis and keep going? So that's going to be the x-axis because the x coordinate stayed the same, right? All right, number 4, the map shows the location of the houses of Dan, John, Lee, and Roy. The coordinates of the community center are at -4, 2. So -4, I always start at the origin, go left 4, up 2, right there's the community center. Who has a house in the same quadrant as the community center? Well, we see clearly that is Joe. All right, number 5, the cost of 1 bag of tea is blank dollars. Well, here it says number of tea bags or bags of tea, or I can't read, you guys. I'm saying tea, but it says bag tags. All right, so 3 bags of tea. I've said it again. 3 bag tags is $9. It looks like 6 bag tags is $18 and 9 bag tags is $27. So what would be the cost of 1 bag tag? Well, if you divide the cost by the quantity for all 3 of these, we get the same number, don't we? So that means our unit rate is 3 for 1. All right. Number 6, use the coordinate grid to determine the coordinates of point A. So we always start at the origin. We're going to go left. Well, here's 1. Make sure you read this carefully. So how many spaces what would we name these spaces between 0 and -1? What about, could it be 0.5? Nope, that's too big. What about 0.2? What if this were -0.2, -0.4, -0.6? Nope, that's not going to work. We don't have enough. So what else would be a little bigger than 0.2, but smaller than 0.5? What if we used a quarter? How about a quarter? Whoops, that's a quarter. That would be a 2 quarters or a half, 3 quarters. Yep, so it's 0.25. So this is going to be -0.25. The second one would be -0.5. This would be -0.75. So this, we'd have to go left -1, -1.25. And then up, here's 1. Here's 1 right here. So right below that would be 0.75, right? Does that make sense to you guys? All right, number 7, which point below shows an equivalent ratio in this scenario? So 2 cups of frosting for 6 drops of food color, 3 to 9, 4 to 12. So what's happening to these numbers to get these numbers? What is happening to 3 to get 9, 4 to get 12? Looks like we multiply by 3, and by 3, right? So if we had 60 times 3 is not less than 30, but is 50 times 3 goes with 150. Does that make sense? Yep, M is the right answer. It goes with the table. All right, number 8, point A is at 3. So let's sketch it. So we would start at the origin, go right 3, and then up 2.5. Point B is at 3, 1.4, yeah. On the coordinate grid, the distance between the 2 points is, well, the difference is going to be between 2.5 and 1.4, isn't it? So 5 minus 4 is 1. The distance between the 2 points is 1.1. That's the answer, because the 3's are the same, so we have to find the length. What is this distance? Well, we have to find the difference in these 2 numbers. All right, let me get rid of this stuff. It says point P on the coordinate grid below shows the location of a straight line. A second stage light. I can't read, you guys. This is stage light. A second stage light is 6 units above P. It says the length of each square on the grid is 2 units, not 1. It goes up by 2, by 2, by 2. What are the coordinates of the location of the second stage light? So we're going to go 6 units above. But then it says each square is 2 units. So we're just going to go up, really, that makes 3, right? So there's 2, 2, 4, 6 right there. Because each unit is 2, each square is 2 units, and we're going 6 units. So really, that's only 3 actual squares. So what is this coordinate right here? This coordinate right here is, that's an 8, and this is 2. So that's the location of the second stage light. All right, number 10, the map of a biking trail is drawn on a coordinate grid. So let's sketch this out. The trail starts at -2, 1, 2, 1. So -2, 1. It goes to 6, 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Okay. It goes from Q, 6, -3. So 6, -1, 2, 3. And then to 9, -3. So 6, 7, 8, 9, -3. What is the total length in units of the biking trail? So we're going to go from here to here. So how far apart is -2 to 6? So we'd have to go right 2 spaces and then 6 more spaces. So that's 8 units. And then it says we're going to go from here, 6, 1, down to 6, -3. So if this is at 1, to get to 0, we go down 1 whole unit, and then we have to go 3 more units. So that's a total of 4 units. And then finally, from 6, -3 to 9, -3. So how far apart is 6 and 9? 3 units. So 8 plus 4 is 12, and 12 plus 3 is 15. The answer is 15 total units. And it does help if you draw it out and you can literally just count how many units apart they are. The path of a race will be drawn on a coordinate grid like the one shown below. The starting point of the race will be at -5.43. So negative, if we continue this out a little bit, there's 5, there's 6. So about 5.4 and then up 3. The finishing point will be at 3, +3, +3, -5.4. So down here somewhere, right? Use the grid to determine in which quadrants the starting point and the finishing point are located, and explain how we determine the locations. So the starting point is in quadrant 2 because we went left, then up from the origin. All right, so the starting place is in quadrant 2. Remember, this is quadrant 2, this is 1, this is 3, and this is 4. So to get up here, we went left and then up from the origin. And then it asks about the finishing point. So I would say, even though I don't have room here, the ending point was in quadrant 4. I'd say basically the same thing, because we went right and then down. We went right and then down from the origin.
Madison TS for checkout. Madison TS for checkout.
Okie dokie. All right, a checkpoint will be at +5.43. That means go right and then go up. So we're going to be up here in quadrant 1 now. In at least 2 sentences, describe the difference between the coordinates of the starting point and the checkpoint and how the points are related. So we're talking about the starting point and the checkpoint. Well, if you notice, the first coordinates are the same number, but they're opposite signs. So we could say that the height is the same, right? Or no, excuse me. They're it's almost like they are reflections over the y-axis. This one was at -5.4, and this one's at +5.4. So one is a reflection of the other. Okay, and you can tell how far they are apart by finding the absolute value of 5.4 and add it to the absolute value of 5.4, which would be 10.8. They're 10.8 units apart. All right, it is recommended that you work this out on graph paper to help answer the questions. Maria plots the point locations of 4 places on a coordinate grid as given below. It's recommended that you work this out on graph paper. It said that twice. Her house is at, so Maria, her house is at negative 1, 2, 3, 4, way up here at 9. Her school is at negative 4, 1, 2, 3, down here somewhere, right? The community center is at 1, 1, 2, 3, over here somewhere. Actually, those should be the same, on the same row because the numbers are the same. And the grocery store is at negative 4, negative 8, which is way down here. Use absolute values to calculate the distance in units from Maria's house to her school. So from her house to her school. So negative 4, 3 and negative 4, 9. What's the difference in 3 and 9? So the difference in absolute value of 9 and the absolute value of 3 is 6. So 6 units apart. And then it says, is the total distance from Maria's house to the school, to the grocery store, greater than the total distance from Maria's house to the school, to the community center? So what is the distance from her house to the grocery store? Her house to the school to the grocery store. So the distance between her house and the school is 6 units. We already know that. And then from the school to the grocery store, how far? Wait, well, these are the same number, right? And then if I'm up here at positive 3 and I got to go down to negative 8, I want to know what is 3 minus a negative 8. How far apart are these? Well, I'm going to do bam, bam. And they're 11 units apart. Okay. So the distance between her house to school and from school to the grocery store is 17 units. All right, now we want to know the distance from her house to the school to the community center. Well, we already know from her house to the school is 6. And then from the school to the community center, we're talking about going from negative 4, 3 to 1, 3, negative 4 to 1. I would have to go right 4 units and then right 1 more, or keep going 1 more unit to the right. So that would be 5 units. So there's only 11 units up from the second part of that question. So the answer is this distance from Maria's house to the school to the grocery store is greater, because 17 is greater than 11. Okay? All right. Well, those of you that tried to come to the meeting today, I'm so sorry I was about 9 minutes late. I just completely stopped looking at the clock. And so anyway, make sure you take your test on Friday. If you have any questions, let me know. And then everybody have a great weekend.